There are an estimated 93 million children with disabilities worldwide. Millions of these children are denied the right to quality, inclusive, and equitable education because of lacking resources and awareness in their communities and schools. USAID, in collaboration with the World Bank and UNICEF, hosted the third and final webinar in a technical learning series on inclusive education in Africa. The webinar took place on October 2, and the series culminated with an in-person workshop later that month in Nairobi, organized by the World Bank through a USAID-supported program called the Disability Inclusive Education in Africa Trust Fund. Koli Bonik, Senior Education Advisor with USAID's Africa Bureau Education Team, facilitated the webinar, which featured 3 presenters. The first presenter was Jessica Lopez, a Senior Education Officer with the USAID Africa Bureau Education Team. What are key elements to successfully working within an education system and strengthening it? Inclusive development is a critical element for working at scale. For example, the TUSOM early grade reading program in Kenya is at nationwide scale.
Africa Bureau's education team decided to conduct a review of education system strengthening. What is an education system? An education system consists of all people, institutions, resources, and activity whose primary purpose is to improve, expand, and sustain education outcomes. And the team defined 5 core education system functions. 1, governance, 2, finance, 3, service delivery, 4, workforce, and 5, information, that being research, monitoring, and evaluation.
The findings and recommendations surrounding system strengthening are, number 1, listening to the system is critical. 2, host country engagement and commitment early on is essential. 3, develop an integrated approach to support the building of institutional and individual capacity for system strengthening. 4, high mobility among teachers and other education staff impacts both fidelity of implementation and long-term sustainability. 5, activities funded by USAID or other development partners can act as a system steward. And 6, donor and development partner collaboration is key. The next presenter was Odala Banda, Senior Education Advisor for USAID Malawi, who presented the experiences from Malawi in terms of inclusive education. The goal of the program is to ensure that all children are provided education for them to be able to reach their full potential. The implementation of strategies works to ensure all children are accommodated in their environment, regardless of disabilities, by providing the necessary support for the needs of children. This ensures that children with special needs are part of the mainstream. The materials, including Braille and large print books, all ensure children with blind or low vision are given the necessary support, and that there are supplemental reading materials made specifically for children with disabilities.
As you can see on the picture, this boy received the medals for being outstanding in the reading competition during the Braille Cup. You see the smile that he has.
The final presenter was Josh Joza, Disability Inclusive Education Specialist at the USAID Office of Education. The education ecosystem requires us to look at the larger picture. Analyzing the individual needs is as important as analyzing the system needs to make sure that each individual need is being met. But if one only looks at this from a downstream point of view or the individual point of view, then one is neglecting some of the larger challenges that lay upstream with policies, training, and everything else within the ecosystem that is feeding into the individual experience. Every human, not just children and youth, have a hierarchy of needs. If these needs are not met inside or outside of the classroom, then students aren't going to be able to optimize their learning. The bottom rung includes very basic needs such as physiological and safety needs. Moving up the hierarchy are psychological needs. That includes love, belonging, and self-esteem. At the top is self-actualization. Once a student is able to self-actualize, then they can maximize and optimize their learning potential. When training teachers on universal design for learning, it's important to focus on 3 aspects: how to engage students, how to represent the information, and how students can express themselves and participate in activities. It's important to do this work in order to invest in the larger education system. Having strong higher education systems that can train teachers is critical to build this positive feedback loop and strengthen service delivery. This webinar, along with its predecessors, allowed the topic of disability inclusion in education to be analyzed by 3 unique perspectives. Each of the speakers have aided in the conversation regarding inclusive education, and with the help of USAID, the World Bank, and UNICEF, will continue to insist on quality, inclusive, and equitable education. More resources can be found at the URL and in the how-to note linked below.